Picture this. The year is 2008. Morning doves are cooing, the sun is hitting your face as you're playing with your toys on the pavement, and your brother is across the way throwing some weird ball on the ground and yelling about some Bakugan. Suddenly, this toy shapeshifts before your eyes and turns into a mythical creature. You're in awe. And frankly, feeling a little jealous that Aunt Susan didn't buy you one as well. If you were a kid in the early 2000s, I'm sure you remember how big Bakugan was. It was everywhere. Bakugan wasn't the first shape-shifting toy to hit the market, but it's probably the most well-recognized even to this day. Unless we're counting Transformers 2, in which case Bumblebee might have a few more fangirls. Bakugan soared to success since its release in 2008 and is even still being sold in stores today as I film this video. That being said, it's no doubt that Bakugan had its grip on kids across the globe, and the creators of Bakugan, Spin Master, took note of its success. With hopes to capitalize off Bakugan's success, Spin Master sparked an idea for a female-catered Bakugan, and thus sparked the idea of Zoobles. Zoobles and Bakugan have the same transformative concept from spherical shape to toy, but Zoobles were specifically catered and designed to target the female demographic. Although I know quite a few of my girlfriends would have probably preferred a really cool dragon over just a blue octopus, but I digress. Like I said, both toys could transform from a sphere-like shape and awaken into some magical mythical creature. For Bakugan, it can be anything from dragons to cyborg-type creatures, even dinosaurs. But for Zoobles, they leaned more into a realistic look, focusing on animals you see in nature, but with a fun, colorful twist. Each Zooble had its own unique habitat, which doubled as a play center and a sleeping place for the Zooble to rest. On top of the habitat, there was a hotspot, which was a magnet that could trigger the activation of the Zooble. Habitats varied in color and theme, but functionally were the same throughout. The first Zooble set was released in the West in August of 2010. There was a second release in Japan shortly thereafter, but for this portion of the video, I'm going to be focusing specifically on the Western release. The first 5 Zoobles to be released were Caitlin the cat, Doxy the dog, Ears the rabbit, Rochelle the turtle, and Birdine the bird. Caitlin the cat was not only the first ever Zoobles released, but she also became the mascot for the original Zoobles line. Here are some of the initial Zoobles Spring to Life concept designs by artist Mark Verhagen. I hope I'm saying that right. These Zoobles, as well as all of the first 34 Zoobles, were released from a region known as Patagonia in the Zoobles world. All Western Zoobles live in the land of Zoobles Isle, and Zoobles Isle was broken down into 12 different regions, and the Zoobles in the region varied on their theme and design based on the area they lived in. Patagonia was the grassy plains area, Sigonia was an undersea world, Azuzia was the tropical region, Chillville was the snowy realm, Arctania was the ice region, Jungleopolis, pretty self-explanatory, was the jungle region, Rocktopia was the desert canyon area, Coraloo was another sea-based region, but specifically focused on shallow and coral-like animals. The Sky Island, which contained all of the Zoobles' mythical creatures like unicorns. And lastly, the Zoobles Princess region, which technically has no official known name, but it's the only region of Zoobles Isle where humans lived alongside Zoobles. All of these regions had mini-games that related to the theme of the region. So if you were in Chillville, for example, you could do something like sledding or throwing snowballs, building a snowman, something along the lines of that. The website for me personally was the best part of Zoobles, and it's the thing I miss most about the whole franchise. Think like Webkinz, Pop Tropica, Monster High era of mini-games. It was the best. We were literally on the home computer cranking out a 9 to 5 in mini games at this time, and I want that energy back. Where did all of the good mini game websites go? Moving on to the Japanese release, The Japanese Zoobles were released shortly after the Western Zoobles, but had a completely different vibe. These versions didn't live in Zoobles Isle, but rather lived in a place known as Candyland. The differences in where they lived also coincided in the differences of style designs. Candyland is a sweet pastel, girly-like region full of candy motifs. Think swirls and cupcakes and candy canes and anything cute and sweet and girly you can think of. Candyland was about it. If you thought the Zoobles Western release was impressive, the Japanese release will shock you. Zoobles boomed, and it was awarded the Best Girl Toy Award in 2011. The Japanese release had sold about 200,000 units in less than 3 months of its release. All of a sudden, Zoobles were everywhere, and you know a toy line has officially marked itself as successful when it gets its own Happy Meal toy line, and that's exactly what Zoobles did. It was looking like Zoobles was gonna be Bakugan all over again. But unfortunately for Spin Master, Zoobles had a much different fate. Despite its massive initial success, Zoobles' popularity quickly faded. Within just 3 years of its initial release, sales began to plummet. The market became oversaturated, and kids began to gravitate towards more tech-based toys, like the new Furby that came out with its own app, the Tekta robotic dog, and Skylanders, which you can play in video game version. Zoobles couldn't compete, so it ended up discontinuing in 2013. But that's not the end of the Zoobles story. Out of nowhere in 2021, Zoobles re-emerged. After an almost 8-year hiatus, Zoobles came out with a relaunch known as Z-Girls. Z-Girls still adapts the same initial concept as Zoobles with their transformative nature, but this time transforming from ball to animal to Z-Girl. The name Z-Girl is a spin on the term e-girl, which is a term that soared to popularity in the 2020 pandemic. The Zoobles are stylized to mimic the aesthetic of an e-girl. This style, which grew out of internet culture, takes inspiration from emo, anime, and alternative subcultures. And the Z replacement for Z-Girl obviously is referencing Zoobles. The Z-Girl style and rebrand is completely different from the initial Zoobles release. What do you think? Will Zoobles ever get the same level of popularity that it had in 2011? Let me know in the comments, and if you have any other deep dive ideas you want me to cover, let me know. If you enjoyed the video, please be sure to give it a like. It helps out huge in the algorithm. And subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll chat with you in the next one. Bye.